Talmor, Shishin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm Alison Larkin, writer, comedian, narrator, and host of the Jane Austen podcast. Join me as we embark on a journey through Austen's timeless stories, starting with Pride and Prejudice. The Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
And I had this whole thing planned. Like, I brought a little clipboard for my scene, worked it out with my acting coach. And then, like, the casting people were like, no, just throw it all away.
Hello world, and welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Coming In. I'm your host, Jillian Clare. If this is your first week tuning in, this is a show where I speak to fellow actors about their journey in the entertainment industry and make them share a couple bad audition stories with me. This week on the show, we have Emelina Adams. You may know her as actually the face of Guest by Marciano. But she's also in the new Brad Pitt film Bullet Train, and we talk all about it. So here is my conversation with Emelina. And welcome to the show, Emelina.
Thank you so much for having me, Jillian.
Thanks for coming on. I'm so excited to talk to you. You are in one of the biggest new films this year. But before we get to that, we have to go and talk about what got you into acting and how you found your passion for this crazy world.
I know. I think it was something I've always wanted to do from a really young age, but I was too scared to go after it. It didn't seem like it was something I could actually do, and I was scared to do it. I was scared to move to LA, and my parents were like, very pro, like, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. So I did go to college. I went to the University of Arizona, and I got my degree in pre-law and psychology.
Wow.
But I knew in the back of my mind, thank you, that I was like, I'm gonna move to LA after. And so I did get my degree. But I started taking acting classes when I was young, and like I was in theater for a little bit. I played piano. Like, I was always in the arts. But I moved to Los Angeles 5 years ago, and I really just went hard with it. I started taking acting classes, improv, on camera, scene study, and I've been modeling for like 12 years now.
Wow.
And I know how to get into acting. And I was like, well, modeling's kind of like a step in that direction. So that's why I got into modeling, and that's why I got into beauty pageants as well, because I read that like Holly Berry and Michelle Pfeiffer and some of the biggest actresses, they got their start by doing beauty pageants. So I thought maybe that could be for me too.
Wow. So how did you got into modeling 12 years ago? How did you find your way into that world? Did you just start submitting to agents and figuring it out, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was so, like, I didn't know what to do. When I was younger, I went to like this place called like John Robert Powers. I don't know.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. I did that when I was young, and I took acting classes, but they also had like a modeling side too, and they taught you how to do like runway and like posing and stuff. So I did that, but once I turned 18, I just started submitting to like local modeling agencies in Vegas, and I started doing like the trade shows like Magic and CES and all those big ones that like come to Vegas. And then I started doing print stuff, and I did promo stuff. I was like a Monster Energy girl.
Love it.
Yeah, I've literally done everything you can think of. I was a ring girl for Tecate.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I've done it all. And here I am. I'm modeling for like my dream company, which is Guess. Like that's
Yeah, I mean, huge. That's
yeah.
massive.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've like always wanted to be a Guess girl, and I've been working with them now for like 2.5 years,
Mm.
and I love them. They've been such a blessing.
You know, we really only talk about acting auditions on here, but I would love to hear what the process was for you to become a guest girl, because I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, I know it's so crazy. Like I have always told every agent I've been with, I'm like, I want to be a guest girl. I want to model for guests. I feel like I have like that guest look. Like every guest model is just like it's like a real woman.
Mm-hmm.
They love curves. They don't want you to be really skinny, like
Yeah.
which I love. Like they embrace like a natural,
A
beautiful
full body regular
woman.
woman.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like they encourage you to like eat pasta
Yeah.
and great. They treat us really well over there. But yeah, I didn't know how, but I was like, I'm gonna do this.
Hmm.
And I was like, how can I do this? And so no agent ever reached out to them for me.
Mm.
I reached out to one of the guest photographers, Josh Ryan. He shoots a lot of the guest campaigns.
Wow.
And I was like, I would love to do a guest inspired shoot. Like, is there like can we do that? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like I can't guarantee any work for you, but like let's see how we work together, and then like if things go well, like maybe I can refer you. And so I was like, okay, even if I don't become a guest girl, like I'm gonna have amazing images because he's like an amazing photographer. Like I love him. He's like such a really cool guy to work with too. And so the shoot was amazing. I love the pictures. And he sent the pictures to Paul Marciano. He's like one of the co-founders
Yeah.
of I was
As my
trying,
jaw drops.
yeah. I didn't become a guest girl that way, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this sucks." But I'm like, I'm not going to give up. And so I DM'd Paul Marciano on Instagram. I sent him the pictures. I said, "Hey, like I would love to be a guest girl. This is my dream, blah blah blah." Nothing. It sits in there for like over a year.
Oh my God.
Finally one day I guess he saw my message, and he went through my Instagram and liked some really old photos, and he messaged me back and was like, how tall are you, can you come to the guest headquarters on Tuesday at 11 a.m. I remember. It was right before my birthday, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I like went down to the guest headquarters, and it's like a mini movie lot
Yeah.
downtown Los Angeles, and like it's all gated. There's like studio 1, 2, and 3 with security, and like big buildings with like all the iconic black and white guest photos. And it was just like such a dream. And I met everyone, the whole team. They gave me a tour, and he was like, wow, like you're so much more beautiful in person. Like you remind me of Sophia Loren. I'm going to book you right away to shoot Marciano next week. And this is right before the pandemic. And I was like
Wow.
working every single week until the pandemic happened, which was it was like such a blessing in disguise. Because I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I've worked with them every single month since I started there. So I love
Okay,
them.
let's like give some major snaps for you legit just going after it and getting it yourself and saying, I'm not waiting. Because that is like the number one thing you have to do in this industry is advocate for yourself. You can't wait around for someone else to like present you an opportunity. You have to go out there and break it down. And girl, you did. And now you're a
Thank
guest
you.
girl.
Thank you so much. Yeah, seriously, I feel like you can't wait for agents. You can't wait for
Mm-mm.
an opportunity. Like if you want something, you have to be persistent and go after it. Like I have another funny story about trying to like get into guests that before that shoot. I don't know if you want to hear it or not, but it's so funny. Like I was so persistent about it. Like I just wanted it so bad, and it finally happened, and it paid off.
It does pay off. Persistence is key in this industry. I mean, you have to really want it. And that's why I tell people when they're like, well, maybe I'll try modeling, or maybe I'll try acting, or maybe I'll do this. I'm like, if you don't really want it, if you're not going to bust down doors to get it, do not get into it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, and you can't let other people like say no. Just because one person says no doesn't mean everyone else is gonna say no. Like, I have dealt with so much rejection in 12 years. Like, I still deal with it all the time. Never hear back from auditions or castings or opportunities, or I'll get put on hold. It's crickets. No one even tells me I didn't get it, and I wish I would say that.
Don't you hate that? You get put on in a veil and then you just don't hear anything, so then you're like, oh, well, I guess I can be free this week then, and I don't have to put that on hold anymore. Okay.
Yeah, like, thanks. What's up, guys?
Thanks so much. Well, let's get to how you got into the acting side of things. So your first big TV role was 13 Reasons Why. So tell me a little bit about that. That show is great.
Oh my gosh, I know. I love that show, and this is actually like funny too. So, right when I got to LA, I was like so hungry to just like work and like to make something happen for myself. And I had an agent at the time, but I self-submitted for this on Actors Access. Like, it was not like, it didn't say 13 Reasons Why in the breakdown. It said like Sound View, because they're trying to be all like confidential.
Right.
I had no idea what it was. And the role said escort. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be an escort. No, I don't want to be a prostitute.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, I'm just gonna self-submit for it anyways. And then I get an audition for it. And then I did the audition with my acting coach. And he was like, oh, wow, like, this is 13 Reasons Why. I was like, how do you know? And he's like, because the producers. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it is 13 Reasons Why. Like, this is so cool. And they wanted like a local hire for that. And I ended up just sending a self-tape in like right away. I sent in 2 different takes, and the casting director got back to me literally like, I feel like the next day, and was
wow.
like, do you have an agent? Like, are you local? And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I sent it to my manager, and then they put me on a veil. And my manager was like, well, it doesn't mean you're booked. It could be between you and like 2 other girls. Like, okay. So I've like learned in this industry, like, I cannot get my hopes up like that.
No.
Unfortunately, I used to be so optimistic, like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be life changing. But I don't feel like that anymore. But I ended up booking it, and I filmed for like 3 or 4 days up in Northern California. And it was so fun. I got to work with the whole cast, and everyone was so nice. And it was like the prom.
Oh, episode. Fun.
Yeah. And I got to be Zach or Ross Butler's like date to prom.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fun because I was literally there with like everyone, and I feel like I like got to hang out with them. So
was that cool. The first time that you experienced a bigger set?
So back in like 2000, maybe 15 or 16, I was like featured on Ballers.
Okay. Yeah,
that was really cool. And they were filming in Las Vegas, and I'm from Las Vegas, and I have a Las Vegas agency, and they booked me on that, and I was like right behind The Rock in the scene.
Oh, fun.
Cool. And it was like at the Cosmopolitan. That was a really cool experience too. But the 13 Reasons Why, like, that was so many people. Like, they had so much background, like prom, and we're like at a high school and everything. So it was huge, and it was really pretty. It was like an old train station for the prom.
That's so really cool.
Yeah. It was really fun. I love that. Never forget that.
So let's talk about your new movie, which, you know, it's not just a little movie, it's a big movie. Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. I mean, what the heck, lady? Tell me everything.
I know, it's so crazy. I got a self-tape audition from my Las Vegas agency, which is so cool because they've like grown so much since I started them. So it's so cool to see them now. They're like getting these opportunities and this reach, and like I booked my 2 biggest movies with them, this one and then I have another one called like Back on the Strip. But my audition was like I had to improvise a scene where I'm convincing my lover to leave his married wife for me. So there's
Oh.
like no direction, there's no script. Again, they're trying to be super like confidential and like secretive. And I sent in 2 different takes. I did it with my acting coach and I booked it off of my self-tape, which is so awesome.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, people actually do watch the self-tapes.
They do press play. That's good to know.
Yeah. And then like we filmed it at the Sony studios. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love going to like the movie lots. Like it just feels so like, this is happening. I can't believe I'm here. And like that was definitely like just so surreal for me. Just like, oh, I'm just walking to set right now, walking to go film this movie. And like it was such an amazing experience. Everyone was so nice. Brad Pitt is so nice. Um I went to the premiere last Monday, I think. That's when it was. I feel like so much has happened in this past week, but it was just such an amazing experience. That was my first like real red carpet experience, and
Wow.
it was a carpet, and it was so cool at the Regency Theater in Westwood. Yeah, and I got to watch the movie. I've never seen it before, so that was my first time seeing it, and it was just like it went by so fast. I was like, oh my gosh, that was me up there. It was fun though.
Yeah, I mean it's so cool to see yourself on like, a big screen for the first time. You're just like, "Oh my god, wait, that's my face. Hi."
Yeah, literally, I'm like, oh my god. Like I didn't realize that was me at first, and then my agent with me, she was like, that was you. That was your scene. I was like, oh my gosh, it was. Like it was like I feel like I like blacked out or something, but it was so cool.
It's very possible. You mentioned another film that you have coming out. What's that one and what's it about?
It's called Back on the Strip. It has Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, Wesley Snipes. Like it's a full
Dang.
cast, like comedians and stars, and it's a comedy, and it's about these male strippers called the Chocolate Chips.
Yes.
So fun, so funny. And I play like a trophy wife to one of the chocolate chips, even though he's not chocolate. He's like a surgeon in the movie. His name's Dr. X and my name's Bambi.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, it's like so funny. I wear like a blonde wig and like I'm supposed to be like just like funny and like ditzy, and I have some like really funny dialogue, and that's like my biggest role that I've had to date. So I'm really excited for that to come out.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Well, on this show, we like to share audition stories. Now, those can be sad ones or funny ones or embarrassing ones or the big one that got away. Is there one that you would like to share with the listeners?
Okay, I feel like I started auditioning in person like not too long before the pandemic happened. So I haven't had too many in-person auditions because I was still getting a lot of self-tapes. But one in-person audition I had, it was for the Kaminsky Method.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Michael Douglas. And my scene would have been with Michael Douglas, which would be cool. I love him. And I love that show. And I was so excited to go in for this casting office because they cast like Big Bang and like Young Sheldon and like a lot of like big comedy sitcom stuff, which is so cool. And I like prepared my audition. I was supposed to play like a receptionist and like walk Michael Douglas into his like doctor's appointment into the office or whatever. And I had this whole thing planned. Like I brought a little clipboard for my scene, worked it out with my acting coach. And then like the casting people were like, no, just throw it all away. Just do this instead. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't really understand what they meant because I was like so nervous. I was like, Like, uh-oh, okay. And so then I literally do the same thing again. They're like, no, 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 just throw it away. And they kept like stopping it and letting me restart it. And I must have done it like 2 or 3 times, which is so cool. They let me do that.
Yeah.
And then like, I'm like, okay, thank you so much. And then I walk out and then one of the casting directors comes out and he's like, Emelina, can you please come back in here? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. They really like me. Like they're really trying to like push me for this. I didn't get it, but it was just like such a cool experience to have like a fan in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as actors, we just don't ever get feedback either from casting or agents or anything. We just never know why we don't get something. So it was cool to have that connection, especially now since everything is self-tape. And I kind of wish everything was still in person because they don't really know you at all.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. And also it's like you don't get that third or second chance of them saying, actually, no, let's do it a different way. I mean, that's the most fun part of auditioning is that you bring in this character, this person that you've created, and then you get in there and then they're like, hey, why don't you do it this way instead? And you're like, oh, all right, well, let's do it that way instead. And it just, it really helps the creative process. It feels like you're collaborating with someone. So I hope we all go back soon.
Yeah, I hope so too, or at least like for callbacks or in person, or I don't know. I've had some live Zoom auditions, which is a little better, I think.
It's better, but I feel like, there's this one casting director I know, her name's Dee, and she says that she likes to have in-person auditions because she wants to know how people smell. And it's true. It's like, you don't know. You're watching somebody from, forever away. They could be miles and miles away, and you don't know what their personal hygiene is. You don't know what they're actually like. You could be putting on a face. Like, the thing about in-person auditioning is that you actually get the vibe of somebody. You get what they're really about. And I feel like when we do all of this on self-tapes all the time, it just completely takes away the personal aspect of everything.
It does. I honestly miss it. Like, there's definitely pros and cons to both. Like, it's definitely easier sometimes to do a self-tape, like, yourself, because of scheduling wise, or like if you're traveling.
Yeah.
But I like the in-person interaction, and I like meeting them and them seeing me. I just feel like it's more personable.
It totally is. I want to be able to walk in and be like, hey, how's your daughter? Blah, blah, blah. And like actually have that connection, because we see these people, we spend so much of our lives auditioning for these same people over and over again that you eventually know them and you know their lives and they know your lives. And so it's nice to be able to have that shared experience. Whereas now we're just sending it off like, gee, I wonder if Emily ever watched that. And you're just like, don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm like, who knows if people are watching these? I feel like sometimes they go into like an abyss and like, who knows? Like, I hope they are. I think they are, but yeah, I don't know. Auditioning is like a love-hate for sure. Yeah.
So what else is next for you? What do you want to see yourself doing? Where do you want to progress in your acting career next?
Well, I would love to be a series regular on a TV show, get some guest stars. Obviously, I'd love to be like a leading lady one day. I love like sci-fi and fantasy. And I love period pieces. I love like Game of Thrones type of stuff.
Ooh,
so
fun.
Something like that. That would be the trick.
I could see that. I could see you on a Game of Thrones type of show.
Yeah, I would love to be like Khaleesi or Cersei, a character like that.
Well, I hope you get it, and I hope it happens. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people follow you to keep up with all the things happening in your life?
Thank you so much for having me, and you can follow me on my Instagram. It's at Emelina Adams.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much, Jillian. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Emelina. If you haven't seen Bullet Train, go see it. It's in theaters right now. And yeah, tune in next week for another episode with another fantastic guest. And if you're not subscribed to the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button and, leave some love for us. And we'll see you next week. And as always, Thanks for coming in.
Contained herein are the heresies of Revolve, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Revolve, wherever podcasts are available.